you cut me too deep. I think I'm dying here, man.
Welcome to the 3B Video Deep Cut Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
Aw, yeah. It's that time again for another bi-weekly podcast with your hosts, Rotten Roger DeMarco and
Evil Dead Inks.
And
Well, this is Jay Underwood, but I want to have a cool nickname. You know, you guys got the cool names. I just got Jay.
the Sleepstalker fella.
That's right.
Yeah.
Griffin. Wasn't my name Griffin?
Yes.
You remember,
Griffin.
right?
Griffin, or the last nickname that you got that John gave you, Spray.
Yes.
That's right. I forgot about that.
What's your last name, Spray?
So that's right. We are here. We are live at the Slash and Bash
Film Festival.
Horror
Topeka,
Convention.
Kansas. Yep.
Yep.
And
We decided to interrupt. We are in the midst of our Friday the 13th marathon of doing those movies, but we happened to make this convention.
We said
and
no.
we're like, you know what? Let's see if we can bribe old Jay to come and talk with us for a little bit.
Well,
And he was gracious enough to be like, you know what? I will gladly do that.
You know, that's because you guys have seen one of my lesser known or seen films, Sleepstalker, A Sandman's Last Rites, or whatever it's
you
called.
are upping our street cred.
Man,
100% right now.
and so that impressed me. That impressed me to no end. So I'm like, I got to go talk to these guys.
I'm gonna tell you made my weekend. Like, I as soon as it was announced that you were coming, I was like, Evil, are you kidding me? Like, it is the Jay Underwood. Like, I am gonna geek out so hard, and I didn't want to fangirl you. And I was like, you might have to ask him if he wants to be on the podcast, because I don't know if I can do this.
I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot, because I got a copy of the poster ahead of time of what's going to be going on at the Slash and Bash, and I didn't really even look at it too thoroughly. I just felt like, oh, cool, and I immediately sent it over to him. I was like, here's the dates and everything, what's going on. He's like, are you kidding me? Did you see who's on here? I was like, which one? He's like, Jay Underwood's going to be there. I'm like, you and the wife are both like, we're both like, did you see that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, most people come by and want to talk about the Fantastic Four, the original Fantastic Four, which we can talk about, that Roger Corman made, or The Boy Who Could Fly, or Uncle Buck, or, some Disney Channel movies. But, man, when you walked up with the Sleepstalker DVD, I'm like, sweet. That's cool, man. That's
Yes.
And he fought so much for me to watch that and bring it up beforehand, because it was a movie I had not heard of. And he's like, you need to buy this. We were at a vintage stock in town where you can buy used movies and stuff. And he's like, you should buy this. And picked it up, and I was like, I'm going to get to it eventually. But he knows me well. Like, my stack of movies of Unseen I haven't gotten to yet is about 4 feet tall. So he's like, did you get to it yet? I was like, I didn't get to it yet. And I was like, but I'm gonna be the traditional fan. I'll take Uncle Buck, because we watched it a good amount of times. I'm going to get that signed. And then I'll go home and be regretful that I didn't grab Sleepstalker.
So, we'll get into some Roger Corman stories and some other John Candy stuff. But normally how we do this is we spend about an hour talking about a specific movie. And I usually have Evil give us a brief plot synopsis of the film. But you were in the movie. So, do you want to give the folks at home a brief plot synopsis of the Sandman's last rite?
Man, that's going to have to be your job, because I don't think I could remember enough of it. I mean, seriously, I'm trying to even think of you were doing lines from it, like saying lines, and I'm like, oh, that's right. And we were talking about props, and I know I mentioned that one of the props in the movie that I had as my character was a writer. And then you said, oh yeah, you're writing that article on
Dog Sanchez for your gangbanger piece. And you just got to get real close. You just got to get real close and smoke that fool. That's what you got to do. So,
I'm like, God, it's all, those distant memories, and they all kind of come flooding back, and you're like, oh, that's right.
Just
now
need
it's
the one trigger to make all of it start falling like dominoes. Like, yeah.
So, I'm serious. Give the plot.
Okay. So
it's 1995.
Yes. And there's a notorious serial killer named the Sandman who is killing family after family. It's very Shocker-esque for the people who listen to us who know about Shocker. And so you've got this serial killer bouncing from house to house, killing family after family. And it turns out that the whole reason he's killing these families is because he's hunting you.
Right.
You are his brother. You're his long lost.
Oh, that's right.
That's some straight up Star Wars ties right there.
Yeah.
So 3 days.
Yeah,
We've got 3 days.
3 days to take you out. I'm not really it's really kind of muddy. Why?
As to why?
You got 3 days. I don't know if he's just allowed to walk the earth for 3 days to take you out, but
Instead of
And then he just blows away or something.
yeah, and
Yeah,
spoiler alert, he succeeds in his mission. But
with total swerve.
yeah, it is a total swerve, bro. Got him moment.
Yeah. Because of course, what happens with sand? When you torch it with fire, of course it melts and becomes like glass. And that's, if I remember right, it was his hand, right?
The
that
super cool hand weapon.
thing,
Yeah.
and just
which is kind of deceptive because there's a scene earlier where like water is like kind of led to be like, is that something that's gonna be
right.
his downfall? Because
Right.
water gets turned over and you see his feet
Yeah,
like shuffling
he's
away from
backpedaling.
it. So I was like, is he gonna
Three
get all
Stooging it,
clumpy?
you know?
Was he like litter?
Yeah, that's what we were joking about. Like,
exactly
you
what I
don't
was
want to be
thinking.
the clumpy Sandman. You got to be,
He's gonna start looking like T2, like he's gonna start just falling apart.
Yeah.
Oh my word! Yeah, and then I get it, and then what does it? Is that it? Is it over?
Like you're trying to escape.
You basically, it's a lot of it's one of my favorite like movie formulas for a movie that doesn't have a massive budget. Now I don't know the budget of this film, but it's a lot of setup, run, stop. We've got away. He's back.
Right.
We have a little altercation. Another cast member gets bumped off. We run. We stop. We've made it. He's here. You know what I mean? It's very formulaic, but it's so much fun. Like
Good.
super. It's one of my favorite movies. I grew up watching it, and any one of my friends that would come over, I'm like, sit down, shut up for an hour and a half. You've got to watch this movie. I put that movie on par with the Nightmare on Elm Street films. So it's up there for me.
Man, that's pretty high standard, high calling there. It was one of those. I remember reading the script, and I remember liking the script, and I went to the audition, and it was actually pretty cool because Catherine Morris, who played my counterpart in it, she and I actually auditioned together. They were just pairing, guys and gals up, at the audition, and so we're reading it out in the, outside on the street before we went into the office, where Turi Meyer and Al Septian were, and they're the writers, and Turi directed, and then Catherine and I, it was one of those where we just went in and we just rocked it. I mean, it was one of those things where you walk out of the audition and you just know,
Like, I got that.
I nailed it. Yeah, well, and you go, and if I don't get it, man, I feel totally good that we did. I mean, we just both knew it, and yeah, but it was one of those where Turi said afterwards, he goes, yeah, you guys did. I mean, it was just so obvious. You had the chemistry going and just everything, and boom, and I think it was. If I remember right, it was kind of earlier on in my career where it was kind of my start of doing indies and doing independent stuff, right? And I had to kind of get in that mindset of how you make those kinds of films, because time is
very go.
It's
Get it on the first take or not at all.
basically that's it. And Catherine and I think it was one of her first indies too, and so we're wanting to rehearse. Well, we're gonna have some rehearsal time, right? We got to figure this out, and and make it a little more organic, and then you're used to shucks, when I worked on Uncle Buck with John Candy and John Hughes, oh my word, we would do 50 takes or
Table
something,
reads and all
It's
types
all
of stuff.
table reads, what's that in this? And finally, Turi, and Turi, our director, was just a terrific guy and became a good friend after that. And he said, we need to just kind of talk with you guys. We love what you guys are wanting to do as actors and stuff, but here's the logistics. The logistics are we just don't have the time.
Do you remember how many days you had to shoot?
When something like that,
I mean, it was 1995, so
I'm going to guess it was not more than a month. It was probably a 3-week shoot. Maybe it was 4 if I am remembering correctly.
It's a long movie too. It's got an hour 45-minute run time.
Yeah, that is.
So,
yeah, sure. And we had one kind of main studio area that was actually kind of cool. It had a lot of old brick buildings and stuff, and we used a lot of that. And then we did some location stuff around Los Angeles. But he just said, so here's the deal. We got to come up with a better system. And we want you guys to be able to bring everything you're bringing to the roles. But the truth of the matter is we just got to move a lot quicker.
Gotta go,
So he said, if you guys can rehearse, or if I can grab away, and I'll I'll steal away and come and rehearse with you guys just in dressing room areas or wherever, you know, and then because we're gonna set up shots, and then if you can just kind of go along with it and just we're gonna tell you step here and move here and boom boom boom. And that way then too we can actually get, you know, a couple of takes out of it, you know. So we were like, oh, okay. So I had to learn to readjust my mindset after that. All the other indies I did afterwards. Oh, then
Cakewalk.
Cakewalk. Exactly.
With Corman, now that's very like
yes,
like a machine, like
Mile
one
a
take.
minute.
Yes.
Go.
Yes, absolutely. Working for Roger Corman, it is you got zero time, but I think at that point I knew that going into it, you know. And we all did, and we all wanted to make that. That's a whole lot. We can get onto those stories if you like. But yeah, that's the deal.
I was curious because I of course he has the DVD with him, so we watched Sleepstalker. So I finally got to get it watched last night.
Yep.
Absolutely love the wardrobe.
Oh yeah, we were talking about
I
that.
was like, oh my goodness, that is 1995 to the max. I love it. The vest and the hat.
Yeah, I had my leather vest. I remember I had like one of those like
a weird material.
undershirt, like what do you call that?
Like-
Long underwear, you know, whatever, you know.
Thermal,
with
yeah.
two buttons.
Thermal underwear.
There you
That's
go.
what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
The thermal with
That
two
my mom
buttons
used to
up
buy
here.
me, you know, with the two
winter
buttons
time.
exactly. And I had the chappy hat on backwards kind of thing, you know, and
Yeah, it's
Which,
so
which
95.
I'm, which I'm
for
curious
sure.
between that, which you're rocking a sweet hat, the sweet hat you're rocking, Uncle Buck, and you're rocking a sweet hat today. Are you a big hat man?
yeah, man, I like my hats. I
Yes.
like my hats.
We are definitely hat guys here.
I think one of my classic hats stories was when I was a kid. I'm working at a theater. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I'm working at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, and I'm doing a Christmas Carol one year, and I used to have to take the BART train from the Hayward station all the way over to San Francisco and go do the show. So leading up, it was Christmas time, and I remember being in an antique store with my mom, and I saw this really cool beaver pelt top hat from England in an antique store, and I put it on, and it fit, and I'm like, that's all I wanted for Christmas that year was that cool top
This
hat.
is it. Yeah.
That's the sign. That's like the tester. If it
Right?
fits, just
if it fits,
right.
then you knew it was meant to be, and I was supposed to wear hats, and so I get it, and then I wear it though, you know. So I'm at the BART station with my top hat, you know, on, and and people are staring at me like, what, you know, this kid's just weird, but yeah. So I got my hats, and in fact, when I was out here in Kansas City I think it was a film festival number of years back, and found a cool hat store there. I got my bowler hat, so yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So is it a variety of different styles and designs?
Yeah, I don't even know what you call this style, but pork pie or something. It's got the triple thing or whatever. But yeah, this is my latest style. But I got a bunch of others at home. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, we have an extensive collection of hats for sure.
the
very cool.
Ball caps, a couple of fedoras, definitely a lot of beanies.
Yep.
Just always liked hats, and that's the same kind of
Me
setup.
too.
Like if you put it on, if it just fits,
That's it, huh?
right. And it's a weird it doesn't squeeze too much, it doesn't press on the ears,
Yep.
but just so it doesn't mess with your hair or rides up when you move your head because of the hair. You're like, oh, I have to own this hat.
All
now.
of these factors. That's it.
Yes.
It lets you know if the planets are aligned and you were meant to buy that hat.
I'm supposed to leave with this.
So I'm curious. After doing Sleepstalker, because are you a big horror fan? Are you a big horror guy?
So
in general,
I would say probably not as much nowadays. I just kind of fallen out of it, but there was a time when certainly I was much more into it. And let's see, when I was a kid, so the Friday the 13th stuff,
yeah.
I mean, going back to the original, I remember watching Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood with this wild and crazy audience at like midnight,
That's
I mean, that's the way to
bonkers.
see something like that.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I was just curious because you did Sleepstalker,
Yep.
and then you never really kind of dipped your toe back into like pure horror.
No, let's see. The only other I'm trying to think what I would have had in the
X-Files.
can. So I did X-Files and Millennium, but those aren't like real horror. So there was one I did called Son of Darkness to Die For Part 2. The original one was it's vampire type series, but pretty on the horror, and side. And then I crossed into this realm of so I always played the nice guy next door early on in my career, and even Griffin in that was the nice guy, kind of deal. And then I got these parts in some B movies where I was a stalker. And the deal there was they wanted the nice guy next door, so you didn't think he was the bad guy.
Yes.
And I remember getting those parts, and we went up to Canada and shot these films, and I did one, and then they hired me. The same company hired me to do a second one, and so I'm playing the creepy guy. In fact, it was great because my brother-in-law still kids me about this one because so I'm basically knocking people off. I'm stalking this gal and I'm knocking people off to get in the way, and this one gal, she's kind of on to me like that I'm kind of psychotic and doing these things, and so we're going through this car wash, and she jumps in the car, and I'm this wacky character where I'm sitting in the car wash while the car wash is going on, and I'm taking her head and slamming it against the dashboard, and my brother-in-law just to this day just howls. He teases me about that story. He's like, Jay, I couldn't believe it. I'm just blah, blah, And then every now and again, like somebody, well, not so much anymore because I think they're pretty much gone. I don't know if they even resurrect on any streaming services or whatever. But somebody will come up to me and they go, I saw this movie where you like cut your finger off and you mailed it to somebody, or you pushed your mom down the stairs, or you bashed your girlfriend's head at the dashboard, and I'm like, well, what were you doing up at 3 a.m, to watch that? Because oh no, you know what? So this is a cool story. So the movie I'm telling you about right now, it's called Stalked. Okay.
Okay.
And okay, if you don't mind a quick story here.
Go for it.
Okay. So I make this movie, like I said, total B movie, stalked, it comes out on video and that sort of thing. And a few months later, and it played on like some cable channel, Cinemax or whatever, like I said, 3 a.m. And my agent gets this call, and he calls me up and he goes, I got this kind of interesting call today. Robert Altman's people called up, and Robert Altman would like to take a meeting with you. And I'm thinking, what? Just back up. But
it's like Major League, like the crank call. Like,
yeah, totally. That's exactly evil what I thought it was.
Say you're from the Yankees.
I thought, and so I said, my agent's name was Mark, and I said, that just sounds strange. Why? What? He said they didn't say anything other than he'd like to meet you and take a meeting. And I said, okay, well, obviously I want to take this meeting, but is this really legit, or is this somebody messing with us, or what?
Right.
I said, so okay, I'm hoping this is like at some, maybe at a studio lot, or at a business or whatever. Right. I said, if
Waffle
it's like
House.
Somebody's house or something like that, I said, I ain't doing it. He calls me back, he goes, they want you to go out to Robert Altman's beach house in Malibu. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I said, okay, Mark, I'm gonna go to this meeting, but if you don't hear back from me in like an hour, you send in the troops, man.
I'm taking that Desert Eagle from Sleepstalker real quick.
Totally.
Just in case.
And so I go out there. I'm a little nervous. Like, is this still the real deal? And he called up and tried to do a little bit of checking. No, everything indicates that this is a real deal. Whatever. Still have no idea why. Is he casting something? Is he, did he see something? What? And so I get out there, and I'm at his beach house, and the maid lets me in. And next thing you know, guy comes walking downstairs. He goes, "Hey, Jay, Bob Altman, nice to meet you." And I'm like, hi. Yeah. Robert Altman. I'm in Robert Altman's house on the beach, just looking at him,
Not even listening to what he's saying.
I'm just
white noise.
What was the meeting about? I don't know.
So he tells me, he goes, "I bet you're wondering why I called you." Well, yeah.
It
So
crossed my mind.
I'm sitting there. I'm laying in bed one night with my wife. And it's late night, and she's got the TV on or whatever.
Oh, no.
And she's got this movie on that you did called, you played like a stalker? Whatever. I thought Robert Altman saw this B movie I did called Stalked. And he goes, and there was something about it, though, that we just found ourselves watching it. And he goes, and she said, my wife says to me, he's pretty good. You should put him in something,
Nice.
And so at the time, he's prepping a movie. He started producing movies with I just blanked. Alan Rudolph.
Okay.
So Alan Rudolph, kind of avant-garde type movie maker, but had some things that did some business. So we ended up making this. he said, so we're making this movie. It's called Afterglow, and sure enough, it got made. It was Nick Nolte and Julie Christie, and it had Lara Flynn Boyle. And then Johnny Lee Miller had just come off Train Spotting. Wow. And he said there's a couple of different parts. The main lead would have been the Johnny Lee Miller part, and they went, Johnny Lee Miller, I'm no Johnny Lee Miller, you know? And he said, but there's this other supporting part that I think you'd be great for. And so he said, so great. You know, we talked for a little bit, and he said, well, I'll just kind of keep you posted, and, you know, we'll let you know if something happens and whatever. And I walked out of there. At least I figured with a great story, you know? Yes. And sure enough, like a month, 2 months later, whatever it was, we get a call. Yeah, they want you to come up to Montreal and shoot this movie. And so next thing I know, I'm on the set. Actually, next thing I know, I arrive there, and they invite me to dinner. And they're treating me like I'm kind of one of the main cast, you know? I mean, there's Nick Nolte, there's Julie Christie, Lara Flynn Boyle, Johnny Lee Miller, Alan Rudolph, and Robert Altman, and myself. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with this picture? I'm definitely the odd guy.
You're like at that point where you're like, they're gonna find me out. Like, I say that all the time. I'm like,
you sure you didn't hire me like just to do craft service or something? You actually want me in your movie?
If you could just go back in time to when you're actually filming the head going into the dashboard and go, this is going to lead to the Robert Altman meeting.
Pay off in the long run. See, but you know, what are the odds that something like that, you know, you take a chance, you do this odd, quirky movie, and it leads to something.
I totally forgot about that story until I don't know, until we started talking about Stockton and whatnot. Exactly, Eve. I mean, you know, how does that work? Yeah, this is going to lead to bigger and better things. Thump, thump. Cut my face.
It's for my future.
Yes. Glorious.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yep. Yeah, but that's where that ended, you know. And then Robert Altman dies, and you know, there's no more jobs for Jay. So
you don't act anymore at all? You stepped away. When did you step away?
Somewhat. So I just at some point. I mean, it has to do with just my own faith, spiritually speaking, you know, and just my love for the Lord and for God and for Jesus and so I started changing just kind of the way the kinds of parts that I wanted to do and wanted to take.
Yeah.
And at some point, what happened was I'm saying no to more and more auditions, even, you know. And I kind of thought, where's this going to lead? Because the work definitely slowed down at the time. But what was interesting was I was trying to get commercial work, and I wasn't very successful for a while just booking commercials because, man, it's like you book a few national commercials, it can kind of just financially set you up for the year. And next thing you know, I start booking commercials. And so my commercial work went way up, my theatrical work went down, and I remember saying to my wife, I'm not sure what's going on right now, you know, and I thought, well, maybe it's time to just pack it in, you know? Yeah. Actually, we thought maybe we'll move back to Topeka, Kansas, where Julie's family's all from, my wife's family's from, and I'll be an auctioneer with her dad or something, you know? Yeah. And then what I realized is the Lord was just calling me into ministry, going into pastoral ministry, and I wanted to go to seminary. And so there was a kind of a defining moment, and I remember calling up my agents and my manager and said, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't. They were great. It wasn't like a super surprise to them because I had already been saying no to a lot of things, and so they said, no, we get it. We kind of were seeing, you know, some changes and things there, and they were neat folks, people that I had been with my agent for probably 20 years, you know, and he was just a good guy that stuck by me through a lot of stuff, So I went into ministry, and so basically now I'll do the oddball faith-based film, you know, or a friend of mine runs the film department at a Christian college where my kids go in Los Angeles, and he likes to when they make student films, he likes to put the students in kind of real life working situations, and so he'll round out the crew or even the cast with working professionals, so that they get a chance to work with and see what it's like to be on a professional type film set versus
Are your kids acting?
Let's see. No, I have my second one down. We got 6 kids between 8 and 24. There's a spread. My second one is finishing up film school, but he's behind the scenes. He's working as an editor for a YouTube channel right now. Nice. You know, and that's one of those things. My wife and I, if you told us that, your son will be actually paid, you know, to edit a YouTube channel, right? you would be like, you gotta be kidding me.
Right.
We don't pay our editor for such things.
So if we rewind, let's go to what happened. Like, when did you decide? I think I want to be an actor. I want to try this. Was that is that a family thing? Was that like, were you born into that?
Yeah, no. Mom and dad, like, just my dad was a police officer. My mom worked at a bank. Nobody had any sort of, finger in the or foot in the entertainment industry. I started doing theater, actually going way back. I was the kid that was always putting on magic shows for the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yes. And then I was doing little plays and things for my grandmother, and that kind of stuff. And then started taking kids classes, community theater in Hayward, where I grew up in the Bay Area. And then started working my way around the Bay Area doing plays. Went to, as I was telling you, the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco and taking classes. Got hooked up with a theater company in Minneapolis called the Children's Theater, where I went, and it was like eating, sleeping, breathing theater while you still went to school. And then the cool thing there was they would, if Hollywood wanted to find new faces, fresh talent, that kind of thing, they were, back in those days, they would do this early 80s. Early mid 80s, they would do a little casting search, and they'd go around the country, and they'd go to Chicago, and they'd go to Dallas, and they'd go to Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. And so I started getting these auditions, because all the kids there at Minneapolis had agents, because they did a lot of regional commercials, industrial films, things like that, and then I started getting some auditions, and they were actually films that came out. I remember one was called Firstborn, with Michael Apted was directing, Terry Garr was starring in it, and I ended up getting a screen test, and they flew me to New York. I'm like, this is kind of cool, And then finally one hit, and the first one that hit for me was a movie called Desert Bloom. It was made by it was out of Robert Redford's Sundance Institute. The writer-director was his first feature. So Redford was one of the producers. Johnny Carson's company was one of the producing companies.
Way to get started.
Man, and next thing you know, I had done this audition, and then like 2 months go by, and we hadn't heard anything, so just thought it's gone. And out of the blue, I get this call while I'm at school one day from my agent in Minneapolis, and she says, we're going to know in like an hour if you have this part in Desert Bloom. I'm like, Desert Bloom? I thought that was, I wrote that off. Yeah, I wrote that off. That was like gone. And next thing you know, they call back, and she goes, you got it. I'm like, what? And she goes, they need you on a plane like tonight. So there's a ticket for you at the airport. And just, I had to run home, pack literally. We had a family friend that escorted me out there, because I'm like 15, and literally the next day, it was a 1950s movie. They cut my hair, they put me in wardrobe, and that afternoon, the next day, I'm working with John Voight. I'm doing a scene with John Voight.
Wow.
Except I had no idea who John Voight was.
So you weren't intimidated or anything, right? Yeah.
My parents were like, he won an Oscar for coming home. How could you? I said, no, but check this out. Jo Beth Williams, the mom in Poltergeist, is in the movie too. And so that was what I thought was really cool,
That's awesome.
And so I'm like, Jo Beth Williams, mom in Poltergeist, wow. And Ellen Barkin was in it, just some great actors. And the main girl, because it was kind of a coming-of-age story, 1950s Las Vegas, when they were testing the nuclear bomb out in the desert, right? It's kind of an art house film, and Annabeth Gish was her name, and she went on to do all kinds of stuff.
She's local, right? Is she
Iowa.
Yeah, she's
from Iowa.
Because she's been a guest at Crypticon and stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah, probably.
Very local, yeah.
She's done a lot of stuff, and had a great career, and so she and I had both auditioned in Minneapolis, and then got these parts. So I played kind of like her. It was a supporting part, like her little boyfriend, and John Voight's her alcoholic father, and blah blah blah.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so that was
the first
big deal, yeah. And then so I make the movie. I go back to school in Minneapolis, and then and I start auditioning again. And then this movie called The Boy Who Could Fly. My agent heard about it, and so we made a videotape audition. And in the movie, I play this autistic kid who doesn't speak. I have 6 words in the whole movie.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, well, what do you do for an audition? And so his thing is he sits in his windowsill and he pretends to fly. And there's a whole story then as where his parents were in a plane crash and they both died. And ever since then, he's refused to talk, and he sits on his windowsill and pretends he's an airplane, pretends to fly. And so that's what we did for the audition. I sat there and pretended to fly, and just kind of looking off into space. And then my agent had me just go through just a series of emotions, just to see how you could express yourself through facial stuff and whatnot. And then they flew me to New York for a screen test. Then they flew me to Los Angeles for a screen test. Then they flew me back to Los Angeles for another screen test. And then the cast director calls up and she goes, "Oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you, you got the part. We needed to cast the girl still and cast the, and so that would have been nice to have known a little sooner."
So did you find one easier than the other to do auditioning with a lot of dialogue, or trying to do a lot of presenting it physically with your body movements and eyes and?
Because we were remarking on that last night. You have
very expressive. And, with your mouth and stuff, the scene in Sleepstalker where you get the straight jacket put on is does a really good crazy face.
I've got to go back and watch that now. You guys keep talking about it, making me want to see it again.
I totally get the when the same in Uncle Buck when you flip out, "I'm sorry." You can kind of see it a little bit there. He's kind of pulling that right there. He's just stressed to no end in that straight jacket. He does crazy really well there.
And that's why I got that Stalker movie, right? Seriously, because that's what they needed. They needed the guy that could act normal, but then act crazy.
Yeah.
I think. The Boy Who Could Fly, that was interesting because I just got it. I mean, in terms of, I read the script, and it's I just got the character. I mean, it made sense to me.
Like a hat that fits perfully. It just this is
full
supposed
circle.
to be.
That's it. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Here's a cool one. So when I got that part, and we went out to, we shot the movie in Vancouver, British Columbia. And we did have rehearsal time.
Nice.
We had about a week of rehearsal time because, one, they had to start teaching me to fly. Because in the movie, the character really does fly. That's the kind of fantasy element, is that you think that there's all these indications. Well, the girl thinks, well, maybe he can fly. Maybe for real. She lives next door and sees him in his windowsill. But, of course, boys can't fly. But this one can. And so we had to work with harnesses and wires and stuff. And they had the guys that had flown Christopher Reeve and Superman. And this is back in the... Again, 85 when we made it. So we're doing all this rehearsal stuff with the wires, and then Nick Castle, the writer-director, and myself and Lucy Deakins, who played the girl.
As in the Nick Castle?
The Nick Castle.
The shape himself.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, you're talking about...
He played Michael Myers.
Exactly. That's what I thought you were referring to. Yeah, because he and Carpenter were buddies, and so, he was the original Michael Myers. Because the Carpenter liked the way he walked, I think Nick told me.
Yeah, I think he was like in one of the documentaries, or he was just hanging around set. And you're going to do something, put this on and be the killer.
Start walking,
Yeah, be the villain.
Yeah, so Nick was the director, and so I remember we did this, we did some improvisation stuff, because he was just curious how these characters were going to interact, because Lucy, as the girl, is kind of curious about this boy that lives across from her, who sits in his windowsill, won't talk, but pretends to be an airplane. So Nick said, let's go to a shopping mall. And he said, let's, Lucy, pretend that you're there and you have to buy a pair of shoes or something. You got to take Eric, the character Eric, with you, kind of thing. And so for me, so she's walking around the mall and looking at stuff and whatnot. And for me, anything that had to do with flying, like my character, I mean, as the actor, I just zeroed in on, And the kind of coup de grace was there's that one part in the mall where they got those deals for the kids sit in, and you put the quarter in, and rocket ship or whatever. Well, that's what it was. It was a rocket ship. And I remember as the character, I'm walking up to it, and I'm just staring at it, and it's like, whoa, this is like the Holy Grail, and I'm touching it. And next thing you know, I just remember being in character. I'm sitting down in the mall on the floor with my arms out, trying to look like the rocket ship, trying to be the rocket ship. And of course, Lucy is the character Millie. She's embarrassed, and she's like, Eric, stop, get up. And people are in the mall, and they're staring at me, and she's... But that's all, and Nick's just kind of following around, just watching, just observing, just to kind of see, just what kind of stuff would happen. Mm-hmm. So that one just, like the hat, just fit, just got it, just sensed it, and so it was easy to do that way.
Nice. Some slight behind the scenes here at Slash and Bash. This is actually our second little bit of collaboration, because earlier today we were asked to be some judges on some short films. And I noticed during one of those short films, I had the thought of, I think he has the same kind of vibe that we do, of like really kind of wanting something a bit sillier, a bit more popcorn.
Yes.
Because one of those shorts just was kind of goofy and just had elements that were just funny.
Was it called Pizza Guy or Pizza Man? Pizza
Yeah.
Man,
Yes.
that was.
It was good stuff.
So that might be something interesting to find out is in your cinema taste today. Is that something you more gravitate towards, or something that's a bit more like
Slapstick.
Yeah, I think
at least fun. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
have a good fun time.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
this.
I think I can take, like, here we are, slash and bash. All right. So I'll tell you this little story, then lead into that. But so before I flew out here, I'm at the church where I'm a pastor right now. There's like 3 of us, and I was telling the church secretary, I said, I'm going off to this sci-fi type convention. I said, okay. I kind of get hush hush, and I said, Ruth, probably don't tell anyone around here, but it's called Slash and Bash. And she started dying. She was screaming. She was like, ah! Because here's this pastor showing up to Slash and Bash. I would say, yeah, that you sense that right. My sensibilities right now, I can take the slash and the bash and stuff if it's a little more in that vein of things.
Yeah, it's gotta be-
When it's trying to go a little too serious, then it kind of creeps me out.
Yeah, we're definitely in that same boat where, there's enough violence in the real world, and
No
it's
kidding.
too. If it's too
Yeah.
real and too visceral, it's like,
Yep.
I don't need that.
Pass.
We're
Yeah.
gonna,
But
Yep.
if it's over the
No.
top and it's silly,
if someone gets hit with a
then
hammer
we're
and 42 gallons of blood shoots out of their face, we're like, sold.
I can take that.
Yeah, that's not real. I'm
Yeah,
having a
pizza
good
guy
time.
did, an old couple trying to off all the pizza delivery people, and by turning them into pizzas themselves, I think that I could do that.
Yeah, it's definitely in our wheelhouse, our sensibilities. We just like we
Yeah.
like cinema to be fun, to
Yeah.
be we definitely I believe in the Joe Bob method of like the worst aspect of a movie is for it to be boring.
Yeah.
And if it's fun and entertaining
Yeah.
and not like there's the time and the place for realistic biopics and stuff like that if you're in the mood for that.
Yep.
But we're a lot of time we just like just put something on that's just fun. Just have a fun
Yeah.
time you can laugh at, even if it's supposed to be a horror movie or a comedy or action. Like if it's just fun to watch, then you can put it on any time.
Yeah,
I
anytime
agree.
cinema.
And movies, they can serve all kinds of purposes. And like you said, there's the biopic, or there's a historical aspect, or there's things that you can learn, or certainly things that are thought provoking and whatnot. But I think I would say too, for me, it's escape, right? I mean,
to
it's
shut your brain off. And
exactly. We've got real life, and it's intense.
Yeah.
So much of the time, and to be able to go into a movie house and have the lights go down low, and you just kind of get lost or immersed in something that can be a little more, whether it's fantasy or whether it just takes you away or whether it makes you laugh or whether I'm all for that.
Yeah.
We're definitely in that category as well, and that was a fun thing. Is like we're gonna get to judge some short films.
Yeah, yeah.
With Jay Underwood.
That's a very strange, that's that whole thing about you like bashing that head in, and being like, this is gonna pay off later. Like 2 years ago when I'm like, hey, you want to build a fake video store and maybe make some short films, and then now we're sitting here and
Yeah.
we're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm doing a podcast with Jay Underwood. I could die tomorrow. I'm good.
Oh, please. Oh, my goodness.
Because definitely 2 years ago when he asked, because I have a horrible
Social,
anxiety
yeah.
about doing stuff like that. And he's like, would you want to be on camera and on video doing all this stuff? I said, absolutely not. I don't want to do none of that. But here we are today.
Well, you can't get the call from Robert Altman anymore, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
hey, there's plenty of guys you can get the call from.
That's
all right,
true, yes.
when they see Tapehead and they go, "Man, that's right on. We got a job for you."
I will gladly carry cords all day long. I don't know about ever being on that side of the camera ever again.
Because you were in that, right?
We're
yeah,
the
we all
leads.
started.
yeah, exactly. Sure.
And it was out of necessity because we had no money and we couldn't pay a cast. So we're like, I'll just write. Yeah, how hard is it to be us? We'll just be us. And then as soon as
There you go.
I'm not kidding. 7 months of rehearsing lines, and then we're like action, and I'm like, what's my line? Oh, hello.
Yeah, like-
I got you.
Reading the
Who was
line.
directing? Were you guys directing too?
I directed it as well.
Yeah, he's the director.
I always wondered how that works. So
director.
do you say action, then you do your lines, then you say cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare, and I told my wife, because my wife is the cinematographer. She's the director of photography. She's a professional photographer in general.
Yep.
So I told her, the next thing we make, I'm standing right next to you. I'm gonna be looking at that monitor going, say that again, please. One more. Just say it again. I'm never gonna be on that. First of all, I'm not the most handsome man on the planet, but
I was still making, when I started out making movies, that was still right before they really had monitors as a regular thing, because nowadays, for those of you who don't know, exactly, Video Village, the director, everything's, tied in with cables, and they can sit, a mile away and watch each take kind of thing, and they're zeroed in on the monitor. That was back when the directors actually were watching you live and trusting the camera guys that they got the shot or not,
Yeah.
Not
seeing
the
focus.
seeing the box.
Not seeing it. Yep.
But we hit what time are we at? Where
We're at about 40 minutes, so we could do our best attempt because, like most of the time, we're gonna pick and do a movie, and we very much like to just leave the topic and go other places.
Sure.
So we will totally title this the Talking Sleepstalker with Jay, or just Hanging with Jay. But would you be interested to hear a couple of people who didn't like Sleepstalker?
right. Your face on the spot.
No, I think I'd rather stick with those that liked it. If you believe the good reviews, then you have to believe the bad reviews, right?
Right.
So see, you're striking a chord in me, because when I was a kid, and I remember I was doing a play in Oakland, and I was doing Oliver, and I was cast as Oliver, and I will never forget. When the Hayward Daily Review, my own hometown paper, does a review on it, they said something about, Underwood was, fine for the part until he opened his mouth and his singing voice was painfully inadequate. And then they went on to say, one hopes that it was only opening night jitters because he seemed more sure of himself with the choral numbers. I mean, I could still remember these words, right? And it's okay, all right, go ahead.
Sticks and stones, but words
Read
will
the
hurt
Sticks
forever.
and Stones about Sleepstalker.
There's only a couple, because it's actually the reviews I'm pulled up. It's actually it's a 4.2 out of 5-star rating.
Boom.
So it's a very high rated for what's out
All
there.
right,
And there's really only a couple. There's one that's super long, which I don't really.
We don't do the long ones.
Don't do the
So
long
I'll just do these first two. Our
the
first
short
three
and
here.
sour ones, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not short and sweet.
Because part of it's like any movie we talk about is a movie we enjoy or are new to and enjoy. So when we go to because I'm a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, so when I go and read people who hate it, you just read those super hateful words, and it takes all the steam out of it, takes all the power out.
All right,
of it.
go ahead,
We're
Evil.
laughing at
Go
it.
ahead.
So the first one up is someone does want to be said. So Amazon customer. So we use our username of Rondell Dale Branch as a placeholder on September 17th, 2018. He says, 1 star. I can't be bothered to remember the last time I squelched so hard. Subtitles do not help.
What's a squelch?
I don't know.
Is that like comes out your rear or something?
Yeah.
It sounds like
It's a
my
comic
first
book
theory.
noise, I don't know, right?
My first theory is if it's a noise you make, like it's something that hurts your
That didn't
pancreas.
sound so bad. Yeah, he had a squelch.
It's a spleen disorder.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's
we'll go
fine.
with that. That's not bad.
Yeah, he has kidney stones
this-
and he squelched.
It's a medical term.
Yeah.
Right?
You're fine.
Next one, another one. So we'll say Rondell decided to come back with another 1 star. This one I can kind of go with a little bit. This is on November 8th, 2018. He says 1 star. Evil wins, good loses.
Ooh.
What more needs to be said? I think that's just somebody that's upset that you got killed in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I was too when I watched
Yeah.
it. I'm like, what are you? Are you kidding?
You're the
But he goes out on his
final
shield.
girl, but you know what I mean? That's
Right.
that's the term. You
Yeah.
technically are the final
He's
girl.
the hero of
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
They pull
but-
a swerve and let your.
I forget. You have to tell me. Does Sandman live at the end, or does he finally?
No, he goes.
He goes,
does.
yeah. She does something to him, right?
She
The girl.
Yeah, she
She
gets
lights
him
him
in.
up inside of a silo.
That's right.
Yeah, and he turns
But the,
into,
Total
turns into
glass.
Yep.
The blind dude who's kind of like the super bad guy
Yep.
kind of leads it like there's going to be more of these
bring
movies.
it. Yeah, so,
Right.
So
But
let's do Sleepstalker 2. You got to come out of retirement.
Yeah,
and do
I'm
it.
telling you, they've
You
never
didn't really
called,
die.
you know?
You didn't really die. It was a flesh wound. He's fine. He'll be back, and we can get Sleepstalker 2 off the ground.
But you do exactly what is the thing that Roger loves most about a character that has, if they're going to die.
This might be the genesis of it. to be
Yeah,
honest
this is
with you.
probably patient zero, because you love if a character is going to go out, if they're going to bite the bullet in the movie, go out on your shield. Go out fighting.
That's
go
right.
out saving
Yep.
somebody.
That's it.
And that's exactly what you do in
Yeah.
this.
You know, Evil, what I'm hearing, I'm hearing that Sleepstalker gets resurrected by Roger here. I'm thinking that Roger's the one to bring Sleepstalker 2 to life.
Let's
what do you
do it.
think,
Let's
man?
do it.
I don't think there's anyone
He
better
could,
for
he
it.
could direct it. You guys can write it, you know.
I'll do it.
You
I'm
can
not
pull me out of
scared.
retirement. I can be, somehow we'll, or, you can always do me as, I'm in the ethereal zone, as spirit or whatever,
Yeah, you're up in the clouds.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm totally down.
All right.
I've always wanted there to be a sequel, and since you're retired, now I'm like, well, I don't know.
Just like in pro wrestling, everyone that says they're retired can never say never.
That's
Right,
right. Hulk
it's-
Hogan comes back all the time.
Right? That's that Al Pacino line, right? Just when I thought I was out, they
Pull me back in.
That nanny boo boo or whatever. Yeah. I don't have a good Pacino. I don't have a good Pacino impression.
Talking to me. You talking to me. All
All
right, and the,
right, what else you got?
and the last one I have, another one that all three people that were not comfortable enough to at least give a name. So they're all Amazon customers. So people that don't want to feel the wrath of
That's right. Roger here.
yeah.
I will hunt them down.
I'm coming after him.
Yes.
And man, on February 12th, 2000,
21-year-old.
21
We
year
can't
old
even
review.
count that. Oh, man.
Mr. Sandman put me to sleep.
That's funny.
An obvious recreation of Shocker, which was Wizard of Oz compared to this movie, where a family killer is put to death but comes back to life in a form of sand and goes after someone he knows for revenge. Incredibly poor quality, low budget flick is unconvincingly boring and unentertaining.
Oh,
Some low
wham.
Some low budget fans have forcomingly given this far more credit than it deserves. They can keep it. Some bitter,
Very bitter. He's a very bitter person. And again, we do these out of love because not everybody can like everything that we like. But you're wrong, and we're going to tell you why. That's fine. You can sit at your keyboard and hate it, but we're over here championing it, and we will. Woohoo! So that's the end of the Amazon 1-star reviews, Evil.
That is all the 1-star
All right.
reviews because it is a 4.2 out of 5.
Could have been worse, right?
take
Yeah, it
that.
could have been a lot
No,
worse.
and one of those 1-stars I can almost get behind. I think it's someone that's just bad out of shape that you did not survive the film.
That's
and
gotta
we were
be
in the
it.
same
Sad about
boat.
it.
That's got to be it.
So so now that we're done with that, is that time for the next segment, Evil?
For our final segment, I love that we're going to spring this on someone who doesn't know how we start this segment, but this is where
All right, let's do it.
this is where we play the game.
Uh-oh, bring it on, I think.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
It's all about the game and how you play it. I don't know what else to say.
That's
Okay,
creepy.
so
So the genesis of that is I'm a wrestling fan, and Triple H always used Motorhead for his entrance music.
Okay.
And I know the lyrics, but every time they would bring him out to officially
He'd be
play
like,
him to the
"Drunk."
ring, I'm like, he doesn't know the lyrics. Like he's singing a different song every time.
Oh, that's funny.
So we start out with he just has a different way of singing the song every time. So
Yep.
we play the game. This is the prop game where we pick a prop from the said movie of Sleepstalker.
which we talked yesterday before
Yeah,
before
spoilers.
this was even
Yep.
conceived that
That's
you were going
right.
to be on the show. And
That's
you,
right.
You have a killer prop. I don't know. Should we let him go first because he's the guest? The
I
people are
think
here
we-
for you. They hear us
You
all
know,
the time.
No, I think we should go first because he has the best. So we save the best for last.
Okay.
Because I'll go first because I think you'll probably have a better prop than me. But watching it for the first time the other night, first thing I was drawn to, because we already brought it up,
Oh, yeah.
I want the hat.
Yes.
I was
So
like,
if you got that in storage
Gosh, I
somewhere-
wonder. Because oftentimes I'd keep something like wardrobe-wise, but I got this bin in my attic, and it's Jay's costumes, and it's the bits and pieces that I've kept, from show. Okay, so when I get back, you know what? I might have that hat.
Oh,
my
man.
lord.
See this
When
made
I
me-
get home, I'm gonna have to go through the bin, and if I have it, I'll put it on, take a picture, and I'll text
oh my
it to you.
goodness. See, that right there is why it's weirdly meant to be to have you on here because
Yes.
because
I might.
Because you're a man after our own hearts. Of like, I got to take something from this because I want a memento from this. So
Yeah.
That way you can remember it forever, yeah.
Yeah.
a man who is living the prop game while we're just fantasizing about what we'd like to take from a movie.
There's so many good props in this movie, and this is, you're putting me on the spot. So, good Lord. If I have to pick just one prop.
Just one.
Yeah, after watching it last night, I was like, it was hilarious that Dog Sanchez gave you a Desert Eagle. So I was like, the Desert Eagle is funny, but I don't want
It's funny because it's like,
gun.
isn't it like a different gun that you're like asking for or something, and then you get handed that, and we're
It's a
like, that's a
hand cannon.
Desert Eagle. That thing's
Yeah.
huge.
I remember when we had that, and they took us out back
On a
of
city
the
street to shoot it.
Basically, well, and what they do then is when you're shooting blanks, you know, then they call it in though and tell the police that they're doing this, and it's film shoot and all that. And I forget what the load was on that, but man, just even shooting a blank, that thing exploded. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, that was fun. I think I kept one of the shells from it. I might have
my
one
gosh.
of the. Okay, same thing. I'll have to go back and look and see if I got all this stuff.
Okay. Sleepstalker box.
So if
Totally.
if I gotta pick just one, which we skimmed over because we talked about everybody else that was in the film, but we did not mention another one of our B movie heroes.
Ken
is
Force.
Ken Foree, rocking it as the detective in the movie.
Yeah.
So
His baby tie.
I would take his baby tie or
Right
his
on.
badge. His badge. But yeah, that is hilarious because his tie is for like a person 5'5", and he's like 6 foot. So his tie is like this big. It's like that does not fit. It's hilariously wrong for the body.
Yep. That's good.
That's my fun joke to have on him. Is I bought a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 poster, and he has his name is misprinted on the poster.
Get
so
out.
instead of Ken Foree, it says Ken Force.
Oh, that's good.
Like,
that's
don't bring
good.
one of those
Force.
Ken Force posters to me. So now
That's
he's
good.
not even Ken Foree anymore. He's Ken Force.
Yep.
All right, so as far as your prop, even though you probably
All right.
have a treasure trove of them in your attic.
Yeah, so from Sleepstalker, the cool one was they had it, and I don't think it was intentional, but they when in my apartment scene had an Underwood typewriter. And of course, my last name being Underwood, you know, I thought, oh man, that's cool.
They did
There's
that
a
for
cool
me, man.
Underwood. Yeah, exactly. And so at some point, I think Turi said, so I think you should take the typewriter, you know,
think I
with
should
you.
too.
And I said, seriously? And he goes, yeah, take it, it's yours. And so
Getting that on a plane.
that's the thing, man.
my
Have you
gosh, I
guys
didn't think
those
about
old
that.
Underwood typewriters? They're stinking heavy. It's an antique. I mean, it's heavy. And so that was, you know, I can't remember if I was. Yeah, I'm married. I was married at the time, and so then I bring home this heavy typewriter. You know, we got it on display. Well, then we move. Oh, you're gonna move the typewriter? I'm gonna move the typewriter. Of course, I'm taking the typewriter, and this thing gets moved all over the place, you know. And then we were up in Northern California, so it gets moved up there. Now I got it back in Los Angeles. It moves back there, and my wife's like, "You ready to get rid of that?" I'm like, "No, I'm not ready to get rid of it. Of course not. Things, you know, I'll haul this around." You know,
There's a dude in Iowa who would kill for this.
You have any idea the history behind this typewriter?
so that's my big prop from Sleepstalker is the Underwood typewriter.
That's amazing.
Yeah, kind of fun.
You're gonna
I'm
have to
just
post a
anxious
picture
to
of it on
see,
your
like-
Instagram.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see the box that just says Sleepstalker props.
I
and
got it
what's
now.
all in
Now
there.
you got me thinking about it totally, because I do remember. I seem to remember that I might have the hat and even a shell from the gun.
What about like the glass, the rosary bead, the evil rosary
Ooh, that'd
bead?
be a good one, huh?
Too, yeah.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
again, there's so
I
many.
just
good
have a
ones.
knack for wanting to take somebody's like article of clothing. It'd be fun to have. Always either a shirt or a jacket, a hat, something.
And like
So-
I was saying yesterday, I was on the underwear kick for a while. Like a lot of characters' underwear. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that girl's underwear
Okay.
from Friday the 13th wear. But
All
that's
right.
weird. It's weird. So-
Well, you know, it might be, but here's something weird. So I'll tell you this quick story if I can. So I'm filming Uncle Buck with John Candy, and this friend of mine flies into Chicago, and the day that he shows up, it was like, I don't know if it was a Saturday or Sunday, we weren't filming. And he's like, "Oh man, that stinks." And so, but I say, "Hey, maybe we can go down to the set." We commandeered a high school, outside of Chicago, and it was a shut down high school, and they turned it into the studio basically. It was this huge high school. And so they had 2 gymnasiums, and those were the sound stages, and the main office area were all the offices, and they used classrooms for makeup rooms and, you know, prop rooms and all this stuff. So Candy had his dressing area, and he has his own dresser that just takes care of his stuff. And we're walking down the hall, and I point that out to my friend. I said, there's Candy's dressing room area, and there's, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, hold on, stop. And he walks over there, and I kid you not, I can't believe we didn't have cell phones that had cameras like that back in those days, you know. And so, but he holds up, there's Candy's laundry. It's freshly done. And he holds up a pair of Candy's briefs.
He planes, trains, and automobiles.
Right in front of his face, it was planes and trains, and they were huge.
Those aren't
You're gonna
pillows.
brush your teeth.
Oh,
with
and
my
I'm not
socks
trying
out of the sink.
to you know, denigrate, you know, the past on, because I love Candy. He was fantastic, but it was funny. I couldn't believe it. And then part of me was scared out of my mind, like, they got hidden cameras here. They
Like,
want,
he just
you know.
needs to walk around the corner right there.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Are
All
you
my
gentlemen
friends holding up
lost?
Candy's briefs.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
I definitely didn't park my car here. Yeah. I'm lost. That's just even better that he's literally doing the Steve Martin from Planes and
It
Trains.
was. I remember looking over at him.
Like,
I'm like,
wind
I think
the
I was like,
camera and get a
I think
picture.
I laughed and howled, and I'm like, put him down, put him down, put him down. Let's go, let's go.
Goodness.
See, that's where he should have been like, now, if you need to brush your teeth, move the socks out of the sink. just to keep that going.
Oh, that is excellent. Well, I suppose we've reached the end of our
Oh
podcast,
man,
so
too much fun, you guys.
I want to say thank you.
This was
for
a blast,
coming out
man.
here
This
and
was
doing
this was great. Yep.
Oh, yes.
And if you have any information, if you want to tell our listeners where to find you on social media or whatever, if they want to reach
Anything you
out or
wanna-
anything like that.
I don't
you
think
wanna
I'm on
plug?
social media.
I don't know,
No,
are
you know,
Twitter-
I
are you a
love
Twitter fiend. Do you
I
Twitter?
love no, I don't Twitter. No, I mean I love when people, you know, have seen some of the stuff from the past, and that's my stuff. You know, it's the 80s, it's the 90s, and so I love it. I love to hear from people just when they have seen something. You know, you walking up with the Sleepstalker DVD thing, and that's awesome. I'm glad that stuff's out there that people would still, you know, enjoy to watch any of it.
Huh? Anything at all you want to plug? We can get the floor is yours for
I don't have
anything.
anything to plug, fellas.
Nothing.
I think the latest one, no, like I said, I've been doing I'll step in and do student films and things like that. The college where my kids are at produced their first feature I think we did it about a year and a half ago, called The Man from Nowhere. And I'm not sure if they're selling it or what. So if you put in The Man from Nowhere, and it's a Masters University production kind of thing, Nick Searcy, who's classic character actor, is the lead in it. And so if somebody wants to see something a little more current, I just got kind of like a cameo deal
Nice.
in there. But yeah, Man from Nowhere with Nick Searcy. And you have to look online and see where it's at. Because I have no idea.
Well, that's cool. How about for last bits? How about parting words?
Parting words.
Any parting words to our dozen.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Okay, I'm sorry! I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Buck. I'm sorry. No, really. No, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, my dad's a lawyer, right? I'm gonna sue you! Thunk. Down. Out for the count.